My video blog of the week for week 7 in the MOBAP leadership class. What I wanted to talk about today was the 15 competencies in our leadership and excellence book. There are 15, but I'm only going to touch on a couple of them that, I feel is really important and kind of go a little bit more in depth into that um, in a sense. And then, go into a little bit deeper thought into that. So, one thing that I really wanted to touch base on the start is some of the competencies that I kind of hold near and dear, true to myself. So, well, number one, I like to break it down as continuous learning. Continuous learning to me means you continue to learn throughout your process. You can't know everything. A coach once told me, which I think is a little detriment to the overall thought that he said was, I forgot more about lacrosse than you guys know, which in turn is just, it's not the right thing to say to your student athletes, but he continued to learn throughout his coaching career. That he's probably forgot more things than we actually know. So in my coaching career, I hold continuous learning to be a huge factor in my life. It was I believe it was 2016. I got my first real coaching job, and I went to the national convention because I was tasked with, running the defense for our team. And I did not play defense. I know how to play defense, but that was about it. I've never ran or coached defensive players, so I sat in a lot of meetings about defense and how things are ran. How do you how do you motivate your defenders? Kind of creating a culture. I did a lot of things to continue my learning process and being a more well-rounded coach. You have to kind of learn on the fly at sometimes with if you're being thrust into a role that you've not been accustomed to. Me being an offensive player, and then my first coaching job, I coached offense as a graduate assistant, and then moving into coaching defense the last 4 years. I had to learn on the fly, and the convention really helped in that continuous learning process of okay, so you can do X, Y, and Z, and then you can implement it, and then also finding out new drills. We don't have to reinvent the wheel necessarily, which a lot of people think that you have to do. It's very basic, patterns and stuff in that sense. But yeah, you don't have to really reinvent the wheel. You just have to find out what works best for you and your program, and that's how you kind of continuous learn. Then my second competency is selling. The biggest thing that you have to do as a college coach is you have to sell your program. And, you know, my second, no, I should say my third coaching spot, I really had to learn how to sell. Before that, I was at two programs that, essentially sold themselves in that sense, where we either had money or we had great academics, where we were nationally known for our academics. Where this third spot I was at, being well known as academics, I also had to learn how to sell this school because we had a low roster number, low student population at the school, so it wasn't very attracting besides the academic side, and we lose a lot of kids to just wanting to be academics, or is what I term the phrase frat stars, because we had fraternities on campus, which was a huge I guess deteriorate to our program and our success, because guys would just be like, oh, I can just go hang out at the house and party all day instead of, having to go actually play lacrosse. So I really had to learn how to sell, the school as a whole, and use, the frat stuff as, a positive, but also, you know, make sure that, our students are, more focused on being lacrosse players and student athletes before they are frat guys, which, that's really the only thing you can do on campus, because it is, there's not really much to do outside of the city of Washington. Besides, Pittsburgh, it was 30 minutes away, but, going downtown, that's kind of hard. And what do you do if you're, a younger student? You want to party, you want to have fun on campus, and really the fraternities are, your only avenue to have fun on the weekends. So learning how to actually sell, an undesirable place by most standards, is something that, I had to learn. And I think that what I've taken from each spot, selling wise, has really grown me into making me a great recruiter in that sense, where I feel like I can sell a school better, even if we didn't have, necessarily the greatest things in the world. I never felt like I was a used car salesman in that sense when I was at my previous school, but I did have to, highlight a lot of things that are probably not really seen on, the campus website. We had a 98% ratio of people going on to grad school, law school, medical school, or having a job within 6 months, and those things those really do resonate with parents and student athletes, where they see themselves as, hey, like I can come into this school, graduate, and I'm going on to do something great. And that's something that you really have to, highlight, because, you see this place as not necessarily the most desirable place at the end of the day, and so you have to really sell what you have to offer, because it's not necessarily being thrown at you, like the other schools that I've been at, where it was like, hey, we have money, you can come here, and it's easy to get in because academics are, they're a priority, but it doesn't take a lot to get in. You can get in with a 2.0 GPO. You don't have to have the 3.5 and the 30 on your ACT necessarily to get in. Compared to, where like DePaul, you had to have those things, but it also had a lot of the same things that my school in Pennsylvania had, but it was more nationally known. It was a larger campus, larger student population size, where a lot of students are looking for that kind of bigger school feel, but still be able to play, college sports in that sense. So you have to kind of mold, how you sell things, and some of the best. Some of the best coaches are, those guys who know how to sell a program and sell what they're building. And that's something that, I've slowly learned. And then teaching. Teaching is my third one that I really wanted to touch on. I think teaching is one of the most important parts of, the college game. You have to teach these players what you want them to do. You can't just tell them and bark orders at them, because you're not going to get the best version of themselves. If I look at a school like Denison, for example, Denison University in Granville, Ohio. When I was at DePaul, we played them every year because they were in our conference. They are a very robotic team, in that sense. They know who they are. Their coach kind of barks out orders, and you have to kind of fall in line. He gets it. That situation only works because the program has been so successful in the past, and it's continued that success, where it's his way or it's the highway. You're not going to play, essentially, so you have to be robotic in that sense. Plus, when you're getting top level players from around the country, it's easy to just kind of bark orders and not have to teach guys how to play lacrosse the way you want to. It's more, hey, you have to figure it out. Like, this is our system. This is how we run it. This is how we're most successful in it. Uh, Sorry for the interruption. I'm back now. But yeah, I was mentioning teaching and how you have to, if you teach players how you want them to play and teach them the system that you're running, you're going to get more out of your student athletes, because they're going to be able to, develop their game as well as, learn your style, instead of just, hey, like this is how we do it, figure it out. And it's something that I hold pretty true. When I was at DePaul, I had to teach them how to play, our zone hybrid offense, and really explain to them how this is going to benefit us down the road. Yeah, we're not playing man defense, which is pretty typical. It's just one, it's man-on-man defense essentially. That's the best way to describe it. But the principles that I was teaching in our hybrid defense, was going to help us out later on. When we decided to go man to man, we went man to man in one game, and we dominated because we kept the same principles. And it wouldn't have worked if I didn't teach them. If I just told them this is how we do it, like we wouldn't have been as successful in using that defense the way we were using it. And then team building. I think team building is, one of the most important things. How do you want to build your culture? That's a big thing in the college coaching atmosphere is culture, and you know, there's a difference in how you build your culture. When you're first starting out, if you have a startup program, it's you need bodies. You need student athletes who want to come and play lacrosse. Speaking at a lacrosse level, you just need bodies. And within that, you can kind of weed the guys out who don't fit what you want to build and what your kind of philosophy is at the end of the day. As you can slowly move down the line, it'll only get better. With how you're building, you're going to start attracting, better athletes that kind of envision what you're trying to build here. And you have to hope that you find some diamonds in the rough and guys who, really advance, their own skill set to become, better players at the end of the day. And, team build, it comes back to team building. You have to build, your culture. You have to build your players, make them better players on the field as well as off the field. If you have a program that you have guys coming in and out every couple of years because they fail out academically, well, you're never going to get anywhere at the end of the day. It's just going to be a revolving cycle. So as you continue to build throughout your years as a coach, hopefully you get to the spot where you have the strong culture and you're attracting more talented athletes as well as academic students to your program. And then poise. Poise is a huge thing. You can see coaches who get very upset on the sideline. Somebody, I'm going to use two examples from the college football atmosphere. I guess I'll use three in that sense. You watch Nick Saban, you watch when something goes wrong, he is immediately upset. He's yelling, he's screaming at the refs or at his players, but he's a very tactician guy. He wants things done his way, in the right way, the numbers speak for themselves. He's won multiple national championships. He's got guys who actually play in the league. He's not just getting guys drafted. He's actually doing very well. And somebody who's in the kind of the immediate poise is a Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. He kind of embodies that. He'll get mad when he gets mad, but for the most part, he's very poised through his kind of coaching. Only little things really kind of set him off in that sense. And, he really is more of a tactician and lets his, defend his offense and defensive coordinators, really get, take the bulk of, getting mad and stuff. You look at his defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. That guy is a loose cannon. He's always getting mad on the sideline, as you can see. On the tapes, or on the TV, he's yelling and screaming. Dabo's more poised. You'll see him. He does get mad at sometimes. And then lastly, someone who's kind of on the other end of the spectrum of just completely poised is, Jim Harbaugh. Especially this year, with everything that's kind of gone wrong with the Michigan program. Excuse me. You can kind of see that, they pan to him on the sideline. He's not really yelling and screaming like he's used to. He's more poised, more centered. And maybe that is a bad thing. Maybe you need to be a little bit more on the Dabo Sweeney side, where you can get mad occasionally, and fight for your players and fight for what you believe is the right call at the end of the day. But you don't need to be to the very left and just kind of be like, okay, that happens. But that also builds a strong unity within your program. If you are completely poised like a Jim Harbaugh, even though that you can say what you want to say about the Michigan program going on right now, but having that poise, especially, I think is one of the key things at the end of the day. I look at myself, when I was coaching at Washington Jefferson. I had no poise. Year one, but I hadn't had experience. I didn't need to be told to not have poise in my two previous coaching jobs, where here I had to have poise because year one was going absolutely terrible for multiple reasons. I mentioned in my discussion boards, how kind of the landscape of everything that was kind of going on in that program. But when I was not poised on the sideline during games and yelling at refs and complaining about stuff, our players felt that. But that's just who I kind of was. I was always trying to fight for our guys. I was excited to be out there. I wanted us to get the calls that we weren't getting, because it was a kind of a political thing. The refs did not like our program because we used to beat up on teams in our conference and just kind of walk around like we were the best and kind of demanded stuff. And since a coaching changeover, the same feelings about our program really just kind of resonated with the refs who had been coaching there for who'd been reffing the game for years in the Pennsylvania area. So year two, I had to have complete poise, and I would say, I had a lot of poise, for the first half of the season, before COVID hit, where I wasn't necessarily checked out, because at one point I was in my first year. I was just checked out. I didn't care anymore, and I was very poised, but I was just going through the motions. Where year two, I was a lot more poised, and I picked my battles, and learned to talk to the refs, a certain way. Just be like, hey, can you look out for this? Can I get an explanation on this? Rather than, what is that call? Yelling at them, because now they're frustrated, and they don't want to hear from an assistant. Even though then I want to fight to get the right call. It's more or less I need to learn a way to speak to them in a way saying, hey, like, can you help me out with this explanation? Like, what's going on? Can you watch for this? And, I got a lot of stronger feedback from, refs in that sense, where, they were willing to, listen to me. And the last one I really wanted to touch upon is organizing and planning. Because at the end of the day, I think organizing and planning is, one of the biggest things that coaches need to learn. Coaches need to have a vision at the end of the day. Like, if you come in with hey, I want to do this and this year, it's probably not going to sit very well. You can have those goals in the back of your mind. I look at one of my old supervisors, when I was at DePaul. His goal from the day one was, hey, I want to win a national championship one day. And I know it's not going to be built. We're not going to get there tomorrow. We're not going to get there anytime soon. But I want to get there one day, and I think we can get here one day with everything that we have. The facilities, academics, the quality of athlete that we're able to recruit here. That was something that I really bought into, because I did feel those same things, that you could win a national championship here. And if you look at our women's basketball program, they won 2 national titles. They've been able to do it. Our football team has been very successful, made national championship games before. We've had individual national championships, so it's very reasonable to think those same things, because if other programs are doing it, there's no reason that you can't do it as well. And well, the women's basketball field is very hard. It's a, as they say in the NBA, it's a make or miss league. And they never had anybody who was like a dominant big or great shooters on that DePaul team that made some runs while I was there. They made it very deep in the tournament. they were just fundamentally very sound, which is something that you could do, at the lacrosse level. You'd be just very fundamentally sound and have good athletes that you can easily win a national championship, kind of at the end of the day. But having that vision, I think, is, that's how you plan and how you organize yourself. If you want to get if you want to accomplish your goals and your vision, like, you have to plan your way out of it. I look at my current program, CSU Pueblo, and we want to get to that national level. We want to be a national contender every year, and my boss has slowly built up this program from the ground zero, where you know he knows where he wants to go at the end of the day. Is he wants to be a national contender, wants to be able to fight for a national championship. But originally, it's all about getting bodies. You have to get players in here, before, and then you have to slowly build that. It kind of ties into back to team building and building that up, at the end of the day, to build your strong culture, to help you get closer to your vision of where you want to go as a program. And it's about planning. You plan. Your first couple of years are like, I just need bodies, and I need guys who want to buy into what I'm trying to sell here. Kind of all ties back in together. Actually, yes. I'm kind of talking this out. But that's everything kind of in a nutshell. And that's why I wanted to talk about the competencies, because I think those are some of the things that are unlooked in coaching. We always talk about them, in interviews, like, what's your vision, what's your goals, like, all this stuff, like, how do you see yourself, and it's just not. I feel like there's not enough, I guess, knowledge about it out there, out in the open, and it's hard as a young coach. You're trying to figure out those things for yourselves, and, yeah, unless you go to a program where a coach is willing to kind of teach you these things and help you get better, then you're going to be kind of stuck, trying to figure it out for yourself, which I've had been doing for a long time, is kind of figuring out all these things on my own. Not to say that none of my previous supervisors haven't taught me things. It's kind of learning on the fly, essentially. But this class, I think, is one of the greatest things, because it's kind of put some things into concrete, vision for myself in that sense. But yeah, that's my video blog for the week. I hope you guys enjoy, and see you next week.